stuff. My name is Paul Mount. Hope you're all well today. It's January the 27th. It's Thursday afternoon. It's actually quite nice today. It's quite nice and bright. I'm not going to say it's the first signs of spring coming because we're still in January, but it's not quite as cold. It just looks a bit brighter out there today. So I hope you're all enjoying a respite from the bitter cold we've been having. Anyway, I'm here today not to talk about the weather, but to talk about Doctor Who. I thought I'd do a little video just discussing some of the Doctor Who rumours that are floating around at the moment, and some of the news as well of things that have been happening in the world of Doctor Who. Starting off by media news, season 22 of the classic series of Doctor Who has recently been announced as being released. There's no official release date for it yet, but you'll have seen on YouTube, presumably, the quite lavish trailer that's been done featuring the return of Nicola Bryant as Perry, and it was filmed in the Temple of Peace in Cardiff with this sort of alien guy meeting up with Perry in front of the TARDIS. They do these nice little trailers to publicise these things. It's one of the things that Doctor Who does very well. Season 22 isn't a favourite season of mine, to be honest. It's the first full season with Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor. It is famously the season that led to Doctor Who being cancelled halfway through, when Michael Grade, who was the controller of the BBC at the time, BBC One, was no great fan of Doctor Who and he wanted it off the channel. And he postponed the next season. I think his reasons for doing so were quite valid. I think the series had run out of steam a little bit. It had become a little bit too violent. 6th Doctor was uncharacteristically violent in a lot of the season. And I think he felt the show needed retooling. And he wasn't a fan of it anyway. I think he wanted a shot of it. But I think he wanted to undermine it a little bit. And anyway, that's all the history of Doctor Who. So it's not a favourite season of mine. However, there are some interesting looking special features on here, as there always are. So it's one I will pick up, and I've picked them all up. I just wish we could get more of the classic seasons, because I appreciate it's probably easier to buff up and do new material for the tail end of the series, because a lot of the people involved are still around. Whereas, of course, in the 60s, that's not quite the case. But it would be nice to get another John Pertwee set, because he is possibly my favourite Doctor. Certainly his era is my favourite era. But I'm looking forward to it coming out. They're always nice to have on the shelf. The second Doctor Who news, of course, is that there are some more Target books coming up in July, I think. Of course, long-time fans will remember the classic Target book range that was our gateway to the history of Doctor Who back in the past, before video. We read the old adventures in Target book form, and it's nice to see the BBC keeping that logo and the tradition going forward. We had a few books came out last year. There's another batch coming out this year. They're a mixed bag, to be honest. Not ones I would have necessarily demanded having in literary form. We've got the Zygon Invasion, which was that Peter Capaldi two-parter. We've got the Eaters of Light, which is a very poorly regarded Peter Capaldi story from his last season. That's written by Rona Munro, who wrote the original script. She's gone on to become an acclaimed playwright, and this was her return to Doctor Who after writing Survival, which was the very last serial of the original series. And that was the story that still has the honour of being the lowest rated Doctor Who overnight figure in modern series history. So it'll be interesting, I suppose, to see what she does to breathe some life into the book. We're also getting 2 books that have already been published. Creature from the Pit. No, Androids of Tara and the Stones of Blood, that were written by David Fisher for the TV in the 70s. Terence Dicks wrote the original novelizations, but apparently David Fisher, the original screenwriter, he wrote novelizations himself, which were used for audio releases. They're now being turned into novelizations. So, yeah, that should be quite interesting to see how they turn out. I can't remember now if there was another one. There might well have been. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. But it's nice to see the Target strand continuing. And I'm very much looking forward to getting hold of those, because it is nice to have them on the shelf. They look very nice. On then to news about, well, not even news, just more rumours about what's happening to Doctor Who going forward. We know that Russell T Davies is back in the next couple of years. We don't know exactly what he's going to be doing, how he's going to be approaching the series, but he's on his way back. And it's interesting, he's working with Bad Wolf Productions, which of course is the Cardiff-based company run by Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter. Julie Gardner was his co-producer on Doctor Who back in the early 2000s when he came back. And it's just been, not revealed, but it's been discovered that Phil Collinson, who was the third in the triumvirate of producers at the time, he's also back working for Doctor Who again. So we've got the gang back together, if you like, the three big star names who worked on the show back in 2005, back on the show again, which is cause for celebration. Of course, it's great. It's interesting. I must admit, I'm not waving the flag as much as I thought I would when I heard the news Russell T Davies was coming back. I love Russell T Davies' work. I love the stuff he's done since Doctor Who. I loved a lot of the stuff he did before Doctor Who. It's a Sin this year, the last year, a great series. The year before that, Years and Years, which was very underappreciated at the time, but a great series. He's a great writer, and it's exciting to think that he's coming back to Doctor Who. My several provisos to that. The first is that means we're not going to get any new stuff from him, any non-Doctor Who stuff, presumably. I know we've got this biopic of Noel Gordon from Crossroads coming out, which would be fun, be interesting. I'm interested to see that. But I'd like to see him doing more non-Doctor Who stuff, to be honest, because he's done Doctor Who. He did a brilliant job. He reinvented it so hugely successfully. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll do, because it needs reinventing. I mean, I've not disliked the Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker era, but I know it hasn't been hugely popular. I'm not talking about the fan fools who rant and rave, but the general audience haven't really connected with it, and that's what it's all about, really. Doctor Who needs to focus in on the public rather than the fans, and I think perhaps it's, again, catered a little bit towards the fan audience in the last couple of years. So I'm interested he's coming back. I just wonder if he's coming back for the right reasons. I think the BBC are keen to have him back because you sort of think that perhaps that in the BBC's minds now, only Russell T Davies can do Doctor Who successfully. Stephen Moffat, he sort of dragged the ship down, I think, a little bit. And I know he's very popular with people, but across his 6 years, I think he took it further and further away from what it needed to be, and took it. I think he ultimately did the damage that Chris Chibnall tried very hard to reverse, but unfortunately wasn't able to. So we've now had two producers, showrunners, post Russell T Davies, neither of whom have been able to keep the ship successfully afloat. And you do wonder that the BBC have gone to Russell because they want Doctor Who to be popular. They want it to be a big brand again. It is a big brand, but it's clearly struggling. I'm sure Russell wouldn't have come back unless he had some big, bold ideas for it. And apparently he has. Stephen Moffat has spoken to him and he said that he's got some fantastic ideas for the series. I'm just thinking long term, really. If he does another 3 or 4 years, what happens after that? You're going to have to get somebody else in to take over. Is it just going to be this circular thing where you keep going back to Russell T Davies? I've said to a friend of mine that half of me sort of thinks that the BBC want Russell T Davies back to do a run of Doctor Who. And when he leaves again, they can do what they wanted to do when David Tennant left. The BBC was sort of minded to stop the show then because they didn't think it was possible for it to carry on being successful without those two. And to an extent, they were right. And I sort of wonder if perhaps that's in their minds again. Bring Russell T Davies back, give us 2 or 3 really good popular years of Doctor Who, and then they can rest it again. And rest it again when it's popular, when people still want more. As it is now, if they rested it, people would just say, oh, well, it had a good run. I haven't watched it for years, but it was, it's one of those things. But if they bring it back, Russell T Davies resuscitates it, makes it popular again, they can go out on top. And then when it comes back a few years after that, and it can be a show that people will remember fondly, rather than now, as they probably did to an extent with the original series, just because a lot of people still sort of think, oh, is Doctor Who still going? Because it's become part of the furniture. It's not the invented TV it was, and it's understandable. It's been around since 2005. But at the back of my mind, I was just thinking that maybe the BBC want to go out in a blaze of glory because it's a big title, and rather than sputter out, as it did in the 80s, let it go out with a big bang in 3 or 4 years' time, and then they can let the anticipation for it coming back build again. Just some random thoughts I've had. I might be totally off the mark, but then everybody's having random thoughts about the show at the moment, and that's just mine. But I'm excited to see what he's doing, because he's a different writer now. I think he's an angrier writer. I think he's got more he wants to say. So if people think that Doctor Who's been too political and too preachy recently, I think they've got a few surprises in store. The big rumour that's going around at the moment, of course, and you'll have seen countless videos on it and you've read articles and things, is about the return of David Tennant. This has been suggested. This came up a week or so ago, and it's a rumour that's gathering momentum, as rumours do. And first of all, you think, that's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. You can't have the Doctor degenerating back to a previous body. But there are ways around it. And I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I love David Tennant as the Doctor. He's certainly far and away my favourite of the modern Doctors, mainly because he got the characterisation, the writing was great, and the tone of the whole thing was perfect. If he comes back, I think that, I don't know. I still don't see it happening because David Tennant now is a hugely in-demand, popular actor. Doctor Who takes 9-10 months of people's lives, and that's a big block in Cardiff away from his family and friends. Whereas the other things he does, he travels around, does his bits and pieces for a few weeks, couple of months, then comes back. I don't know that he would now want to go back to that commitment. However, having said that, when he did Doctor Who, he was still a fairly new actor. There was his big role. He'd done other things, he was known, but he wasn't really well known. Doctor Who made him really well known. And when he left Doctor Who at the right time after 3 years, he then went on and he's now become one of our most popular and beloved and in-demand actors. You think of the things he's done since then, Broadchurch, Des, Around the World in 80 Days, which is on at the moment, which is such a good series. If you've not watched it, I really recommend you watch it. Bit of a shaky start, but it really finds its groove in episode 2. He's done lots of films. He's got other drama series. He's always doing things. So from one point of view, he professionally has nothing much left to prove because he knows he's good. He knows he's popular. He knows he can get work. Going back to Doctor Who, where he left Doctor Who when he still had his long career ahead of him. I'm not saying he doesn't now because he's only 50. But the persuasive thing for him now could be, I loved playing Doctor Who when I left. I could go back and have fun for a year and do some specials or a series because he knows he could pick up his career afterwards. So I don't think it would be a no from him if it's done the right way. And I think it's been suggested recently that what they could do, and again, another rumour I saw this morning, is that we won't see Jodie Whittaker regenerate into the next Doctor, who's not yet been cast. What they could do, and what's suggested, is there will be several specials starring David Tennant, Untold Tales of the 10th Doctor. He can still do it. He still looks the part. Doesn't really look a lot older. It's also been suggested that Catherine Tate could come back as Donna Noble for a series of stories that we haven't heard before about their time together in the TARDIS. It wouldn't affect the way their story ended, but it would be just new stories, new adventures of those characters. And I think that, they both left the show, 12 years ago. But I think that, time's been kind to them both. I think they could do it. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. Part of me thinks it's such a big retrograde step. But then doing it that way, Untold Tales, would work in two ways. One, it would bring back beloved characters. Two, it would bring back the audience, I think, because the audience love those characters. They will come back to watch them, ready then for the relaunch with a new Doctor for the next series in, 2 years' time or whatever. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'd still... If you'd asked me a week ago, I'd have said, no, don't be ridiculous, that's never going to happen. I would have said there's a 10% chance of it happening. Now, having thought about it a bit more, I think I'm more on 30-40% that it could happen. Again, Russell T Davies and David Tennant, they get on well, they're good friends. And the thought for David Tennant, especially if it's a limited engagement, if they said to him, we want to make 3 or 4 specials over a year. And again, it wouldn't necessarily be moving to Cardiff. It would be coming for 3 weeks to make a special, going away, coming back for a month to make another one. It wouldn't be that. The more I think about it, the more I think it's a possibility. It would be a surprise. It wouldn't be what people are expecting. It would kick the franchise up the backside. It would make people pay attention to it again. The only downside is, of course, that going forward, it sort of suggests that Doctor Who can't move beyond that one hugely successful era. And I think that really falls on what's happened since Russell T Davies left. Stephen Moffat fluffed his chance, I think, and Chris Chibnall, because Stephen Moffat fluffed his chance, couldn't turn the ship around. And I will always say this, I think Stephen Moffat damaged the ship. Chris Chibnall tried to turn it around and get it back to the shore, but unfortunately the audience said goodbye and haven't really come back. So anyways, just some random thoughts about this. I mean, it's all up in the air. Anything could happen. It always can in Doctor Who. And that's what makes Doctor Who so exciting and compelling, because you don't really know where it's going to go next and what the people who make it are going to do. But I'm certainly excited, guardedly, about Russell T Davies coming back. I often think you shouldn't go back. You can't go back, but clearly you can. Whether you go back as far as bringing back David Tennant and Catherine Tate, I don't know. But those are the rumours doing the rounds at the moment. I just wanted to chat about them, really, and see what you think about it. So why not let me know what your thoughts are about the future of Doctor Who. If you could avoid going, anything's better than Jodie Whittaker shit, that would be much appreciated, because I'll just delete those comments, because I'm not interested in that sort of stuff. But if you've got any thoughts about the future of the show, if you think this David Tennant revival could work, or if you think it's, digging a hole back to the past that you can't go back from, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave a message down below, leave a comment, like and subscribe. I'll speak to you soon. Until I do, hey, keep taking the stab.